Bam 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 bam. Ay la da 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 da. Bam 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 bam. Ay bam 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 bam. Bam 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 bam. Ay bam bam bam. Bam bam bam. Da 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 da. Bam bam bam. Bam 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 bam. Bam bam bam. Oh da 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 da. Bam 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 bam. Bam bam bam. Da da da. Bam bam bam. Bam bam bam. Bam 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 bam. I bless you. Ay, Boker Tov, Shavua Tov. Good Yantev. Pesach Sheni, the most underrated holiday of the year. Mamash, the most underrated holiday of the year. Anyone had matzah yet? You had last night? Make sure you have matzah today. All right, we have a short shir today because of the women's shir. That's very soon. But so open up, please, to page 58. There's a few more over here, whoever needs. Page 58, we're continuing to learn for the Refuah Shlema of Yakir Ephraim ben Rachel Dvorah. Please have it in mind and no way. Really? Amazing. 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 It's calling your name? Pashut, it's calling your name. Alright, this is it's home stretch now. We're at the end of the Piasetnzer's guidelines as to how to become a chevra, how to be real. Now today's piece that we're going to be looking at is something that I want us to formulate in our own lashon, to figure out in our own language how we would say the following paragraph. We're in Yud Aleph, page 58, Ot Yud Aleph. Kol echad me'achevraya, im tarud hu bechol hayom b'mzonotav, anyone from the chevra, if Parnasa is on his mind, if he's busy with Parnasa most of the day, if that's something that's lingering in his thoughts most of the day, chov alav sheyomar be'emtza tirdato, you have to catch yourself while you're in the middle of consciously or unconsciously wrapped around in the rat race world of where's the next buck going to come from, how am I going to pay my rent, how am I going to really take care of what my children, whatever it is, all that comes into that a definition of tirdata parnasa, of being bothered by parnasa. Chov alav sheyomar be'emtza tirdato, he has to stop in the middle of his being bothered and say ezot eze pa'amim beyom. You have to say the following a few times a day. Ribono shel olam, nimtza ani ata bimkomot hamesukanim lenafshi v'kedushati. Master of the world, I am right now in a place that's dangerous for my soul and for my kedusha. What place is he talking about? He's not talking about if you work at in a mall in the summer. What do you think he's speaking about when he says, I'm in a place right now that's dangerous for my soul and for my kedusha?
You're not thinking about the Torah.
Okay, that's one thing. Your mind isn't on Torah. What else?
It's not up to Hashem, it's up to me.
What does that mean? Must have meant. So it's dangerous.
Really all comes from
What's the danger?
that we think that it's in our hands.
Right. We actually think there's a Gemara in Masechet Rosh Hashanah that says that a person's parnasa is decided from Rosh Hashanah till Rosh Hashanah. We were learning this last week on the show. Remember the show we did?
You spoke about when the hishtadlut, or Ari or Jeremy spoke about when the hishtadlut,
I think Ari mentioned, when the hishtadlut for parnasa, like people always want to know what is that line? How much hishtadlut should I have when coming parnasa? Or how much emunah should I have for parnasa? It's very simple. Once you start stressing, that's not hishtadlut anymore.
I heard it in a different way. It's like hishtadlut miuteret, like too much hishtadlut, is when you start thinking, this all depends on if I'm going to do this or not.
Right, you just heard exactly the same thing. It's mamash the same inyan. Hishtadlut ends when the stress of what more am I not doing, or what should I figure out, and all that stress that we have towards the concept of Parnasa, if all of that energy was taken and put into Avodat Hashem, but you keep on working, you don't stop, you mishtadel, you do your best as you can. But that realm of the stress factor regarding Parnasa, if that consumes you, what we're supposed to be doing is taking that energy and putting that koach that we dedicate to that, to learning, to davening, to Avodat Hashem. It doesn't pater you. It doesn't, what's the word? Liftor otcha? Exempt you from hishtadlut. You still got to try, you still got to work. But we're talking about what it does to the psyche of a man. So it could be that what he's saying over here is, Ribono shel olam nimtza ani ata b'mekomot hamesukanim lenafshi v'kedushati. Right now I'm in places that are dangerous for my soul and for my kedusha. It's not necessarily speaking about a job which would demand of you to be in uncomfortable situations. I think that is a given already. The Piasetnzer wouldn't be even, he's not talking to someone that could afford on a spiritual level to be in that kind of situation. That's not what we're talking about. Like we spoke about a few months, in the last few months, about there's tests and then there's tests. I think he's speaking about that place, that what it does to the preciousness of the elated state of our soul. How much it affects us there. So one that's occupied, and many of us suffer from this. It's a tricky thing. It's a tricky thing. It's not just that we suffer from we need Parnasa. Even if we have Parnasa, Baruch Hashem, that voice that constantly tells you, A, you could have more, right? That's a voice that's always that you could have more. Or B is that you're not really trying hard enough. Because if you were, you'd actually be doing much more. Whatever those voices are, the Rebbe is saying over here, those are voices that are dangerous for the soul. Yeah?
It's one other thing that happens to me, which is it's dangerous because a person can really get sucked into it. I mean, you can come out and say, I'm going to, whatever it is that you need. Everyone's a different kind of avodah, but I got my 8 hours.
Right.
8 hours can vary, for me, could easily turn into 12. Because I get sucked in. I may be enjoying it. Maybe it's something I enjoy. I'm working, I'm accomplishing, I'm doing whatever, and then I start neglecting other things. Or because too much came in, and for whatever it is, it just seems like, to some extent, God willing, people have work that can be enjoyable. And I think it's a danger because we can get sucked in, and then we just continue to work, and we work, and we work at the exclusion of all other things, and then other things around us start to fall apart, and then you get torn. You're enjoying it, you're producing, and it may not even be the thirst for money. It's just the thirst for accomplishment. And I know maybe for me, sometimes it's like the replacement of, hey, at least at work I'm accomplishing something. On my other things, sometimes the accomplishments that we make towards Hashem, our davening and our learning, sometimes those aren't as easy to grab onto or measure or feel or see. They're very slow and they're not perceptible. But with work, once you start, you're on a roll, and you start, it makes a man feel good. It definitely makes a man feel good, and to tear yourself out of that can be very hard.
Is that a danger, what you just described?
I think it's dangerous because, it's going to take you away, and it can make you feel, and it is quite frankly, in my experience, and the people and the influences I had, certainly when I was younger, and when I look around, people think that's the purpose. Yeah, a person can very easily get sucked into the thinking that this is the purpose. The purpose of man is to work and to achieve and to create and do these things. Right. And that is that's the ikr. That's why we're here. And because it does feel good.
Right.
And I'm telling you, coming from a person who for a long time didn't really have that, it took me a while before I started working in life. And when I didn't have that and I started working and started going, I said, wow, this feels really good. To put my effort into something and get something back and whatever, it can feel really good. And then the person can get tricked into thinking that, this is what I need to do to feel good. But at the end of the day, it's empty, because many times when they look back on a person's life, they typically, unless you're a great I guess if you're in your profession or whatever, one of the few, but most of us aren't going to be remembered for the work that we did.
Right.
Most of us are not.
Right.
Or would we want to?
Yeah.
Or would you? Right.
I mean, I guess it depends on the work, but in general.
The Rebbe had us visualize our funeral, and it was more so that we could think about how the people around us would feel looking at us. But how do you feel looking at yourself in that moment? That was a powerful exercise that I went through after my father, whose yard site's next week, after he passed away. It made me realize, like, life is short, and if I had just continued on the path that I was on, my biggest accomplishment at the end would have been that I was this incredibly successful contractor in Boston. That's not how I wanted to be defined.
No, and I would say the answer for me, it wouldn't be like what I want to be defined by work. No, if it was anything in that, I would want to be defined by the people who I work with. That maybe I helped another person with the Parnasa, or I was able to give another person a good sense of whatever, or if the relationships between people that we make in work, that would be far more important, and that people would remember for.
Well, so
they don't go back and remember, I worked with David 5 years ago and we built this great thing. They're probably going to remember, I worked with David and we had this whatever, and we had to figure it was a personal, he helped me, it was good, this type of thing.
So let's just articulate this a bit clearer. What's another danger that could happen to a person that's busy in his concepts of hishtadlut all day long? What else? What else is there?
Anxiety and gilui nefesh are contradictory.
Contradictory, very good. That's really what it is.
It's like lots of b'noam Hashem. It should be na'im, it should be beroga, it should be happy.
But someone told us at a certain point that in this world it's not supposed to feel like that. Right? At what point? Right? It's kind of like someone told us, or we told ourselves, that's not for this world. Like, here, if you're like that, it means a tazui.
Now, if you want to get into the best yeshiva in the 7th grade, then you really better work hard. You better be stressed out about this upcoming test.
Right.
And now we're learning Torah out of anxiety that we're not going to get there. And
But hold on, though. We have we have this idea of like the stress that is supposed to define the soil, which is kind of dictated by our fathers. Like I want to believe what you're saying is true. I want to believe that there's a way to approach everything with shalva and everything is nice. But we have this very clear dogma of not being in shalva, which is Yaakov.
Yeah, but that's about the tzaddikim in the world. Kafatz alav rogzo shel Yosef means the tzaddik doesn't have that so much.
But look at Yaakov running around. He's like he's just stressed. We see it. When he's coming, preparing himself for his meeting with Esau. It's not the person of absolute pure calm.
Yeah, but as he's bowing down to Esau, I don't know if that was like the highlight of his life. Meaning, I think in that place there's makom to learn there. It wasn't necessarily the highest madrigal. He bowing down to Esau out of fear.
No, and then he worked for
right.
years before he got to marry.
He learned Torah for many, many years. He was learning. He was Ishtam Yoshev Alim. He had moments. His tikkun maybe was, okay, I have to figure out how to also, I have to combine the both.
Well, like we're not talking about we're talking about like when we have to go interact with the world, which is what Yaakov Avinu was doing.
He did that for how many years before he got Rachel Imenu? And then
he
said, but at the end of all that, he said it was like a one day.
No,
somebody who lives in a
last 20 years, and he said to Chol at the end of Cholami, like snow in the night, and working all 20 years for you. And
he doesn't describe those. But I think what we're mechavening to, maybe we have to kind of reshift this of who's the Rebbe speaking to in this paragraph. All people or who?
No, whoever's
right. Meaning he's speaking to people that are on for the ride, that are on for the tackle of life, like mamash, like up there. He's speaking to people that realize like your trip's going to be different. If you're part of this group, he's saying, then the way you approach Parnasa is not going to be like anybody else out there in the world. Because the rest of the world gets caught up in the rat race, rightfully so or not. It doesn't matter. If you're here and this is how you want to conduct your life, then specifically what is that which stresses man the most? Parnasa, much more than where they're at spiritually. I think for the reasons that you said, David. A spiritual achievement, I can't, how much can I really detect that? And
how much can you quantify it?
Mamash, right? So that thing which, what judges me usually is where I am on a productivity level and how much I'm, it's mamash a big inyan. And that's the big, yes.
Should this sense of shalva is something that should permeate throughout all of life. But we're speaking right now just about Parnasa because that's something that he knows is our big issue. Like you and I were talking about like how even being like this, Bnei Machshava Tova, like it could be heavy at times. It could be like, I don't know, stressful, anxiety, like there's a lot, it's like a certain bar you need to hit. I have to be thinking about Hashem all the time, and I have to recognize I have a special responsibility, and I have to behave in a certain way. And
right.
These guys, I gotta share, and I gotta open. It's heavy was the word that.
So let's decipher this. What is a Bnei Machshava? How does a Bnei Machshava Tova member wake up in the morning and go to work? Is he at work? When he's at work? Yeah, but he's but he is at work, meaning he's fully. A few paragraphs ago, the Rebbe said, whatever you take on to do, just spend the time doing that which you took on. Which is exactly the opposite of anyone that has to write a paper or sign a contract online, and when you go online, and then there's that other tab that we keep on speaking about that keeps on opening. So the Rebbe says, when you're at work, just be at work. Just do, meaning, do the job, right? Don't let work continue once you finish the job. So what do you have to do in order to do that? You have to have clear, you got to, mamash, you have to define, listen, the 8 hours is 8 hours. En malasot. Or I would say in our case, the 1 hour is the 1 hour of work, whatever it is.
Most of the guys in this room, because a lot of us are not really working that. A lot of us, I see, because we're here right now, we're not really punching a clock and working 12 to 8, or 4 to 12, or 9 to 5.
Right, it's becoming less and less common.
I'm working for 2 hours here, and then a lot of us are self-employed, and we're working these weird hours and whatever. It gets even harder to make those boundaries.
For sure, absolutely.
I don't know where my 8 hours
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Can I just point out his words, though? I mean, I think that's definitely true when we have to adopt this idea of having limits, but he says, hitadlut. He's talking about when it sounds to me.
In 8 to 5.
He's thinking within your 8 to 5.
Yeah. While you're in the grind.
While you're in the grind, it's
absolutely.
It's good to.
Wait, while you're in the grind,
saying before you go to work.
While you're in the middle of that anxiety about Parnasa.
I think it's while you're in the grind of the halachas of life, meaning while you're in the anxiety.
It doesn't mean that you're sitting at your desk. You could be sitting in shul and have that.
No, it's while you're tarut, meaning while you're in tarut means to be bothered, right? So you're bothered by it. You could do your job and not bothered by it, but while it bothers you, which is all of us are constantly thinking about that extra question, other than did I get the job done?
Well, I think you might be more bothered about Parnasa, away from work, because when you're at work, you're actually working. You're actually I guess in a sense making money, but when you're outside of work, right? You're at a shul or whatever. You're at the park, right? And then you start thinking about, how much money did I make today? How much I'm gonna make? You're more.
So you're saying you think he means tarud parnasata means not while you're working, but while you're busy thinking about your parnasa.
Yes.
Could be. I hear what you're saying.
Your boundary and you haven't left work over there.
Then that's fine. You're safe. That would make sense. The only thing is his lashon is tricky because he says, "Chov alav sheyomar be'emtza tirdato zot eze pamim beyom," meaning a few times a day. While it's you understand, he's saying throughout your day. He's assuming that you're working throughout your day.
Remember post-Cliff when we were sending out all those gratitude? For a while we got on this kick and it kind of faded for a while, but everyone was like, we were posting on the thing, gratitude moment, gratitude moment,
right.
Gratitude moment.
Right.
I think he's touching on that a little bit, which is, while you're working, don't forget, every once in a while you got to just take a break and remember what you're grateful for, remember why you're here, remember that
Could be.
The whole sefer is about elevating our consciousness.
And the consciousness here means you have to be aware, what is dangerous for my soul?
I think all the kavanah might be in taruthu bechol hayom b'mizanotav. Taruthu there also could mean that he's actually just a working man. He has to get up in the morning and go to the factory, and he's kol hayom in the factory just doing his thing. Know that in the factory while you're there, stop for a moment and say, Hashem, I'm in a dangerous place here because all these people around me, they're not with you, but I need to be with you even though I'm in my job just working all day long. Throughout the day as a working man, you should just be connected and plugged in. So taruthu bechol hayom.
I wonder if
tarut here might not be anxiety, but just tarut. He's bothered with the fact that he's got to go out to the factory and work.
Choliot. Only thing that troubles me with that parish is that I understand when he says over here that I'm in a place that's dangerous for my soul, and not necessarily having to do with where other people are at. So even though I'm around people that they're not with you, kiviyachol, I don't think he's speaking about where other people that you're surrounded are at. It's just that what the effects of worrying about Parnasa does to my neshama.
It's like when it speeds up. I don't know if I'm speaking from, but for me, when it speeds up, when the thoughts are, I think like, oh, I need to do this at work today.
Right.
Or I'm at work and this is happening. I need to do this, and I need to do this, and I need to do this and this and this and this, and I do this and this and this and this, and then it starts repeating itself, and then it's spinning out to the point where
autopilot, just cruise control, non-stop.
Whatever it's called, looping thoughts, and then at that point it's
well, the keta here is that this is different for each person, and that's why look how he ends this paragraph. Again, Ribono Shalom nimtza ani ata b'mekomot ha'mesukanim lenafshi u'kedushati. Maybe when it says it's dangerous for my kedusha, maybe I could understand that the surrounding and the settings is bad for me. But I think even holiness here means where I am in my mishkan of my nefesh. I don't even think it means, I'm with women that aren't sneas or men that talk vulgar, because you wouldn't be reading these lines if that's a gig you took on, right? It's much more about what happens to me while I'm completely consumed by these thoughts. Tmoch ushmor oti shomer Yisrael, support me and guard me, guardian of Israel. So then he says, lo belashon hazeh dafka tzarich hu lemor, meaning you don't have to say this exact statement verbatim, because what it does to you is different than what it does to any person. Rak ke'ein zeh b'chol lashon shenoach lo, but something of this sort in any language that is shayach to you. Very Rabbi Nachman here, he's bodedus, speak in your native tongue, whatever it is. But this small paragraph, as much as we think it's not such one of the more powerful ones, it actually is very, very powerful, because we are all in olam ha'asiyah. All of us are there. Meaning we all live in a world that we worry about money, whether we have it or don't have it. All of us. We're always worrying about money. And then when we're not worrying about it too much, we start to wonder, are you okay with, are you bemet, what's wrong with you? Are you missing the point over here? But the Rebbe is always speaking about gilui hanefesh, like Jeremy mentioned to us, the whole avodah of this, if you're in this group, it's to reveal your soul. The revelation of your soul does not become revealed when it's completely consumed by anxiety over something that's already decided on Rosh Hashanah. So your hishtadlut over it, at a certain point, it's not hishtadlut. That's the inyan. It's not really hishtadlut. It just becomes a consuming thing that really takes you away from becoming more of you. But it's a fine line here, mamash. When I know when the hishtadlut is done, and then I go into unnecessary anxiety and stress. To be able to detect that line, you got to be mamash in. You have to really know yourself when it becomes, more than what I need to do.
Does he say anxiety again? I know you keep on coming back to it. I'm not trying to.
We're basically having a machloket defining the word tarud. Tarud means troubled or bothered.
Doubt doesn't have to.
He could have said the same line in the camps. I'm wondering if there's any record of him, giving them something to say like this when they were in camps. Because this whole line, the place is dangerous for my soul, and if I just saw this, I think he told people in camps
right.
every day, all day.
Right.
This is just about Parnasa.
This is before. This is 10 years before the yeah.
He ended up in a shoe repair factory, so he was a bunch of the clock.
He was working in that shoe factory. He knew what it was like.
Salvation. They got him out and they stuck him in a place where he repaired shoes.
Right.
It wasn't worried about Parnasa then, though.
No. The salvation aspect of it.
Nachon. We're speaking about before that. You're right. We're speaking about before that. But he's equating a person. It's very good what you're saying. Just because back then when he's writing this, they weren't in camps by the Germans, chas v'sholem. We all know that we put ourselves into camps all the time with what we do, with the stress of Parnasa. Darkness. Horrible places. Usually when you... Mamish, it's dangerous for my soul.
Do you think that this guy's dafka about Parnasa because it's all Shnar, or it's also about like other things, like studying for tests?
Only because of the word that he uses. It could be applicable to anything, but it's because of the word he uses. Kol echad me'chavraya im tarudu b'chol yom o yom b'mezonotav. Yeah. That's the only reason why. But you're right. Like, no, you could really take this and copy
If
paste.
I'm studying all day for a test, it's probably, I should probably take a moment to say I should maybe be learning some Torah or something, right?
Or even if it's a test on Torah.
Right.
I mean, I think dafka when it's a test on Torah, they say, "Oh, wait a second, Hashem, remind me this is about you and getting close to you," right? Like yesterday in the parenting shiur, we were learning about Elisha ben Abuya. We saw this crazy Gemara in Yerushalmi. It's still blowing my mind. What a Yerushalmi we saw in Chagiga. That Elisha ben Abuya explained to his student Rabbi Meir how he probably ended up becoming Elisha ben Abuya, which was Acher, right, going completely off the derech. And he was prepped to be a huge Talmid Chacham from a very young age. That's how he had such a command on Torah. But he explained to Rabbi Meir, he said, really, my father's kavanas with sending me to Cheder weren't really l'shem shamayim. And I learned that at a later age. He probably just wanted me to become a huge Talmid Chacham. But I don't know how much he cared about me being close to Hashem. So, Tarud beParnasato. Listen, we're only learning this based on Parnasa, only because of this word mezonot. But obviously we could copy and paste this into every single place. But it would be a good thing for us to check ourselves today as we spend however many hours a day we work to do two things. One, to see if we could stick to the kitzvah, that I say, I'm just working so-and-so amount of hours, and while I'm working, I'm working. Like I once had a friend that wanted to hire me for many years ago for some transcription project. He said, I just have one request of you, how to do the work. I was like, he's going to give me a good guideline. He's like, when you're doing the work, just do the work. There's no phones. Back then it wasn't as busy as it is now. It was like the beginning of cell phones. The beginning of it. It's a long time ago. He said, when you're doing the work, my only request is that when you receive the payment from me, is that all you were busy doing was the work. It was just doing the work. And today, because we're so self-sufficient and most of us are self-employed, and even if we're not self-employed, we'd make our own hours, kivyachol, right? So that's the one thing. It's a big test. While I'm working, how much am I just working? Some people have this easier, Tom. While you're building a wall, you better just be building a wall, or else you'll chop your finger off, chas v'shalom. So you have to be more aware of it over there. That's one thing. The other thing is, when does hishtadlut stop and anxiety and stress come into the picture? Try to detect it. Catch yourself. And then plug in your own tefillah in those moments. Very powerful stuff. Okay, Shavua Tov, Bezrat Hashem, will continue Tuesday.
Who recorded